Thomas raced down the wrong track. "Bother!" cried Thomas. Thomas had to reverse slowly and carefully back to the points. Then he had to wait while Toby went past. Toby was taking more children to the seaside. They were having a wonderful time. "Everyone gets to take the children except me," moaned Thomas. At last, the signalman changed the points. Thomas reversed back onto the track. And soon he was on his way once again. When Thomas arrived at the chocolate factory, it was getting late. "Hurry up," cried Thomas. "If I'm quick, I might still get to take some children." The workmen loaded Thomas's freight car as fast as they could. It was soon filled with heaps of chocolatey cocoa powder. Thomas was ready to go. But the shunters hadn't released the brakes on the freight cars. Thomas pulled as hard as he could, but the freight cars wouldn't move. "I have to hurry," puffed Thomas. He heaved, he huffed, and he puffed, and he heaved so hard. The coupling broke. Thomas shot forward. Cocoa powder flew everywhere. "Now I'll never get to take the children," puffed Thomas. After a long time, Thomas's freight cars were ready. The yard manager had released the brakes, and Thomas chuffed carefully out of the yard. Finally, the track turned left past the old church. Thomas arrived at the ice cream factory. He thought his job was nearly done, but he was wrong. The factory manager was waiting for him. "The ice cream will soon be ready," he said. "You must take it to the seaside for me." Thomas was very disappointed. He wished he could take children to the seaside instead. He wanted to hear them cheer when they saw the sea. Thomas puffed along the coast to the seaside. "I wish I was taking the children," sighed Thomas. Percy was waiting at the seaside station, and so were lots of children. They all cheered as Thomas pulled into the station. Thomas was surprised. "Why are the children cheering?" puffed Thomas. "They're cheering for you," laughed Percy. "They've been waiting for the ice cream." The children were delighted to see Thomas and delighted to eat the ice cream. Thomas loved seeing the children laugh and cheer. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting with the children. "Today you have worked extra hard," said Sir Topham Hatt. "You are a really useful engine." "Delivering ice cream is a fun job after all," puffed Thomas. He was very happy. Here is a picture of James puffing through the countryside. Let's color in the picture. Green first. What's green? James? No, James isn't green. What about the grass and the leaves on the trees? Yes, they're green. Blue next. What can we color in blue? James? No, James isn't blue. What about the sky? Yes, the sky is blue. What color shall we paint James? Red. That's right. James is a beautiful bright red. What a lovely picture.
Have a look about you, take in what you see. There's a world around you, wherever you may be. Favorite names and places, everywhere you go. Sodor is our island, the only home we know. Out of Henry's Tunnel or climbing Gordon's Hill, past the castle ruins towards the watermill. We'll whistle past the lighthouse, gleaming red and white. We'll leave the sheds at Tidmouth, then come back home at night. Take a look about you, enjoy the world you see. Be it town or country, there's such variety. All familiar faces, everywhere you go. Sodor is our island, the only home we know. Have a look about you, take in what you see. There's a world around you, wherever you may be. Favorite names and places, everywhere you go. Sodor is our island, the only home we know. Sodor is our island, the only home we know. Doobie doobie dooba, doobie doobie dooba, doobie doobie dooba.
The engines love working when the sun shines. One day, Thomas and Percy were helping Salty at the docks. But Salty was worried.
It may be sunny now, matey, but there be a storm coming.
It may be sunny now, matey, but there be a storm coming. There be a fierce storm on the way, Captain, peeped Percy. Salty knew they were making fun of him. He felt sad. Later, Sir Topham had arrived. I want you to fetch Fergus from the smelter's yard, he said. His driver doesn't know the line.
Aye, aye, sir,
replied Salty sadly. Salty was glad he was going to the smelters. He didn't want to stay where he wasn't liked. What's wrong? Asked Emily.
Nobody likes to be made fun of by silly tank engines.
And he huffed away. Emily knew she had to find Thomas and Percy immediately. Those be dark clouds, matey, whistled Thomas. There be a fierce storm on the way, Captain, peeped Percy. Emily was cross. It's not nice to copy the way others speak. You hurt Salty's feelings. We were just having fun, said Percy. We'll say sorry to him, added Thomas. But Salty was nowhere to be found. Thomas and Percy were worried. Fergus was waiting for Salty when he arrived at the smelters. Right on time, congratulated Fergus.
Aye, but there's a storm coming,
said Salty.
We must hurry.
Soon they were hooked up and on their way home. Salty was right about the storm. It was a fierce one. The ships at sea depend upon the lighthouse to keep them safely off the rocks. But now there was trouble. The lighthouse lamp has gone out, cried the captain. Salty and Fergus were fighting their way through the wind and rain. Then Salty saw a lantern ahead. The lighthouse keeper was waiting for him. Our lighthouse lamp has gone out. Our generator is broken. Salty had an idea.
Fergus has a flywheel. It could power the generator.
Hurry, shouted the lighthouse keeper. Fergus's flywheel was attached to the generator shaft. Without the lighthouse, the ship was steaming towards the rocks. Fergus was working as fast as he could. Finally, the generator came back to life. The lighthouse beam shone across the stormy sea once more. Just in time! Hard to starboard, matey! Salty's idea had saved the day. Fergus worked hard until first light. The next morning, Salty and Fergus chugged back to the docks. They were surprised to see a crowd waiting for them.
Thank you, said the captain. You saved our ship.
Well done, boomed Sir Topham Hatt. Salty was very proud. We're sorry if we hurt your feelings, puffed Thomas. We were only copying you because we think you're grand.
Then say no more, me hearties,
replied Salty happily. Now they will all work together and have fun together, as good friends should. Today, Thomas has to collect some timber from the new timber yard. It's the first time Thomas has been there. Toby is telling him the way. See if you can remember the way too. First, Toby tells Thomas, go along the seaside. Next, collect some water at the water tower. Then puff through Wellsworth Station. Thomas is trying to remember all those places. Can you remember them? Along the seaside, collect some water at the water tower, and through Wellsworth Station. Then, Toby tells Thomas, go under the stone bridge. Then follow the canal until you arrive at the timber yard. Thomas is ready to leave. I hope you were listening. Thomas might need your help. Can you remember where he goes first? First, Thomas goes along the seaside. Can you remember what Thomas needs to do next? He needs to fill up with water. Now where does he go? Through Wellsworth Station. Now, was it under or over the stone bridge? Can you remember? Under the stone bridge. Then follow the canal. And at last, Thomas arrives at the new timber yard. Did you remember all those places? Thomas did. Well done, Thomas. It was a windy day on the island of Sodor. Trees were blown, leaves were scattered, and Sir Topham Hatt's hat flew away. The engines were looking forward to the annual Sodor Flower Show. At Tidmouth Sheds, Sir Topham Hatt had news of an important special delivery. It must get to Maithwaite Station before the world-famous opera singer Alicia Botti arrives, he boomed. Alicia Botti was coming to open the flower show. The engines were very excited. They all wanted to collect the special delivery, but Sir Topham Hatt gave the job to Percy. Percy was delighted. But after Sir Topham Hatt left, Gordon and James were sniffy. It can't be that special, boasted Gordon, or Sir Topham Hatt would have sent me. Or me, added James. A red engine would be just the thing. Percy wondered what the special delivery could be. He steamed out of Tidmouth as fast as he could. Percy arrived at Brendam Docks just as Cranky unloaded his special delivery. Percy was disappointed to see it was a roll of carpet. What's so special about a carpet, he wished gloomily.
Maybe it's a magic carpet, me hearty, said Salty. I've heard tales of carpets that can fly. Do you know any magic words? Said Salty.
You mean like please? Asked Percy hopefully.
No, Percy, said Salty. Other magic words like hey presto, hocus pocus, and abracadabra.
Cranky had lowered the carpet onto Percy's flatbed. It doesn't look very magic, said Percy sadly. But as Percy puffed away, the carpet unrolled, as if by magic. Percy puffed as quickly as he could. He had to stop at a junction. Gordon was waiting there. When Gordon saw what Percy's special delivery was, he sniffed louder than ever.
A carpet? No wonder Sir Topham Hatt gave the job to a small engine.
Just then, the wind whistled and whirled and the carpet flew into the air. Look, Percy cried. It is a magic carpet. It can fly.
That's not magic, snorted Gordon. That's just the wind.